Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to Unleash TV, our weekly show. We talk about the news and mobile as covered on UnleashThePhones.com and around the world. All right. I'm joined by my awesome co-host, Alvin. What's up, Alvin? How's it going? How's Singapore going along this week?
Hey, we're still in the middle of a heat wave. I'm hot.
Wouldn't wouldn't be Singapore without some intense heat. Uh, so very interesting week. Very interesting week, huh?
Yeah.
Nokia did something that was completely unexpected, which we'll talk about in a little sec. Let's talk about the news.
Yeah.
Starting with Alvin's bit of news.
So I so this week the Nokia XL lovely phone just launched in Singapore for 239 Singapore dollars without contract, which puts it exactly at the same price as the Lumia 635. So
Whoa,
you know
that's
which phone you should get. Hint,
that is
not this one.
ambitious. That's ambitious pricing by whoever is in charge of that phone in the middle of Asia. All right, okay. Don't nobody should buy that phone.
Yeah,
Please don't buy that phone. Uh,
please.
Speaking of the 625, the single SIM version of the Lumia 630 is now available in India. For pretty decent pricing, it's just 1,000 rupees cheaper than the dual SIM 630. I would just buy the dual SIM 630 because it's just a
And
thousand bucks more.
for just a bit more, you can probably step up to something better, even if it means getting a second-hand Lumia. Because honestly, you kind you make sacrifices with the 630. If you read
Yeah,
our review, you'll get to read all about all the sacrifices that you make with this phone.
you should read that review. I mean, the most annoying thing that really bugged me about the Lumia 630 was the lack of a proximity sensor. I mean, who does that? Why? How much money was Nokia really saving by removing a proximity sensor? I mean, come
I
on,
think
this is something that's been on touchscreen phones since the start
I
of
think
touchscreen
I
phones.
would be most upset about the removal of the camera button because all Windows phones have had it since the start and it's been something that Nokia has done. And I was just taking some selfies with my boyfriend today, and
Mhm.
believe me, a physical camera button makes it so much easier.
I know. It's just, well, whatever. Let's just move on. If you want to know more about the Lumia 630, you can check out our review over at UnleashThePhones.com.
Nokia,
Okay, this came out of nowhere. Let's talk about
yeah,
it.
we
What did Nokia
no
do this week?
Nokia released an Android launcher. Now, for
Holy
those
crap.
of you who are uninitiated to the world of Android, you can replace the launcher. The launcher is the home screen and the app grid that you see when you first unlock your phone. And so Nokia released an Android launcher called Z Launcher. Now, this is not the Nokia that Microsoft bought. This is the part of Nokia that still is Nokia. And in fact, when this launcher was released, I wasn't so concerned about the launcher. I was concerned with what with this interview that The Verge did with the people behind this project, and
Yeah.
what the one of the people who did this said was that they are now unhandcuffed now that ELOP and now that the devices unit is gone.
I know, and that person also had a really interesting hashtag that he used his um on his yeah, but it's interesting to see how happy the non-Microsoft part of Nokia is now that Elop is gone. I mean, you can kind of see they're really pissed off at this
Yeah.
guy for
And
removing the.
And that makes the future of Nokia the new company without that doesn't make phones. That makes their future seem a bit brighter to us because for us, we have
Yeah.
never known really what goes on the inside. But now that there are some hints that they are really capable of doing some really cool stuff, some really innovative stuff. For example, this Z launcher is in the same vein as Aviate and all those launchers that aim to learn from you as you use your phone, but then it seems to be much better executed than Aviate and any of its
Yeah,
competitors.
it's a little plain for me, so I uninstalled it, so I can't show you guys. I'm sorry, but it's interesting in the way that it learns about you and arranges 6 apps in a list with the clock and the date on top, and the dock at the bottom, which you
Yeah,
can't change right now. I mean, it lists your phone, your messaging app, and like two
of
others.
course, this is just a pre-beta, so
Mm.
it's essentially an alpha. So it will be released as a final version towards the end of this year. And so what I think this is the new Nokia showing itself and what it is capable of doing
It
and what.
does. It does raise a lot of questions, though. It does raise a lot of questions, like, what the hell is going on? For one thing, I mean, I was really happy that this happened,
Yeah.
and I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. So it's interesting to see the old Nokia, the non-Microsoft Nokia, fight back, you know.
Yeah.
But they're not allowed to make phones for a while, so.
Well, we are now in the middle of 2014 already. They are
Hmm.
allowed to make phones in 2016, which is just 1.5 years away. If they were to start developing a phone now, it will be ready at that time.
That is true. That's a good point. That's a good point. Hmm.
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 So,
Okay. All right.
so
Yeah.
now we also learned something new from MTV News, which is not exactly the MTV that you know. MTV News in Finland is not music television, but it's a news service, and they reported that Nokia years ago paid several million euros in ransom money to protect Symbian from being exploited, because apparently there was this person who held some key that could help malware get past Symbian's platform security. You know, in the good old days of S60, when the third edition came out, that they had this thing called platform security. So that's like a very so
Symbian
that's a
sign.
model that is built on the same sort of idea as today's Android app permissions and so on. Basically, apps are prevented from doing anything that could harm the system in some way, and it was implemented in 2006-ish. So, they it's quite an interesting story. They
It's
negotiated with the guy or girl.
Yep.
And apparently they agreed to pay the ransom, but they also alerted the police. So they left the money in a parking lot for the uh, person to come and collect it. But the police lost sight of the person who managed to get away with the money in a parking lot. Now, if you think about
This
it,
is
a parking
amazing.
lot, I'm
They
not
should
sure
they
they
should
should
make
make a
a movie
complete
on this.
game out of this.
I know, right? I mean, what? And this is so typical Nokia that it actually is believable that this actually might have happened. Um, I I I don't know. I kind of feel like it's believable and maybe it actually did happen. Maybe and it's funny because they open sourced Symbian later on, so they didn't really need to keep that key after all. But what's
And
funny is that back then there was no centralized place to download your apps from, so there's no app store. So they couldn't force people to download just from one place. So this is why it was so important for Nokia to keep Symbian secure back then. Um, but it's just wow. How if only somebody at Nokia said, "Hey, suppose we force everyone to download things from an app store instead," they could have saved several million euros worth of money by that one idea.
it also shows how much power Symbian had then. If the
Oh yeah.
same thing were to happen today, everyone would be just like, "Eh."
Nokia would probably be like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, sure, yeah,
Yeah,
fine, release it.
whatever.
We'll pay you to release it instead." Yeah. Um, I feel bad for Symbian, man. I wonder what happened. Like who? Never mind. All right. Moving on from Nokia news. Everybody else also did some stuff this week. Samsung announced a QHD display Galaxy S5 LTE-A that is meant only for Korea. People are going crazy about this phone for no reason at all.
So
But
let's just
I will
remind
say
ourselves
okay.
that the G3, if there's anything bad that you want to say about the G3, you could perhaps say that because of the 2K display, its performance isn't perhaps as good as other phones, and its battery life perhaps couldn't be as good as the G3 would be if
And it's
it
suffering
had a
from
1080p display.
overheating issues as well, apparently.
So Samsung does things. They release phones every week. And so today, Korea gets a new 2K display, upgraded 3 gigabytes of RAM, Galaxy S5. Sure,
Snapdragon
maybe
805
yeah.
processor. Yeah.
So maybe if you
Um,
bought a Galaxy S5, you would kind of feel a bit
Stupid.
pissed. But let me just remind you that this is Samsung that we are talking about, and honestly, it is not out of the question that they would do this because they've already made your money on that Galaxy S5 that they sold you, so they have more money to make more phones that are better than the phone that you just bought. Get
Yep.
over it.
Speaking of new phones, the plastic version of the HTC One, the HTC One E8, E8, apparently sold really well in China. HTC China apparently sold over 50,000 HTC One E8 units in just 15 minutes.
I
Now,
have a
I
theory.
tried I tried to do some research on this and I really couldn't find out whether this was just like pre-orders or people in a store or what?
I have a theory as to why this news exists in the first place. In
Because it was
China,
cheap.
Xiaomi is a big thing. Xiaomi keeps getting headlines when they say that, oh, we've sold this huge number of phones in this short amount of time. That's kind of their thing because they really do artificially restrict supply so that demand always outstrips it. So that there's always not enough phones to go around, so it becomes a very coveted item and they sell out in minutes on their website. So the way I see it is that HTC China kind of wants to get its own attention in the same way. So it says that it sold over 50,000 E8s in 15 minutes because that's exactly what makes people sit up and take notice of you in a very crowded and very competitive Chinese market.
Hmm.
So
Well,
that's
it
where I
certainly
think
worked.
this comes from.
Definitely worked. A lot of people noticed it, and I'm already a big fan of the 8 because it's plastic version of the M8. It's much cheaper, and it dumps the stupid ultra pixel duo camera setup thing for a proper 13 megapixel camera. So hey, get it. Don't buy the M8. Buy the E8 if it's available in your country. I don't even know if it's going to come to India or not. I hope it does. Anywho,
Huh.
let's move on to some slightly bonkers, insane news.
Oh, I want to talk about this.
Okay, so
Now,
Facebook released a US only app called Slingshot.
it is
Slingshot,
irrelevant to 95% of the world.
yeah, but people are going to talk about it anyway
Yeah. So
because
let's break it down, right?
okay.
Now, I think Snapchat is dumb. I'm not the only one who thinks Snapchat is dumb.
I agree. Snapchat is terrible.
So I don't really understand why these companies are going out of their way to compete with Snapchat because Snapchat is dumb. And so Facebook has never given up on competing with Snapchat. They launched the Poke app, which died completely. You can't even get it now because they killed it. So now they're trying again with Slingshot. And now, minus the fact that it's US only.
Yeah.
Just let's not talk about that for the moment. Let's just assume that everyone can get it. Now, Slingshot demands that you send a photo to your friends because that's the way you get to see photos sent from them. Now, and what that means is that if I got a photo from my very good friend, you know what I'll do? I'll send back because I'm such a good friend. I'll send back a photo of a black thing because I have my hand put over the camera lens. And so, because I don't have anything interesting to share, but I still want to see the photo anyway, that's exactly what I'll do, and I'll get to see the photo. So, hey, it will be a law of diminishing returns thing when Slingshot gains any traction at all. If it gains any traction at all, at the start, maybe you get interesting photos. I'm not talking about that kind of interesting, but okay. Maybe you get interesting photos. But as time goes on, people realize that, okay, actually my life is really boring. I go into an office, I sit down, I then do things for 4 hours, I go for lunch, I come back and do things for 4 hours again. I don't really have anything to share, so I'll just share the texture of my wall. So I'll take a photo of my wall and send it to my friends. just to see the photo that they sent me. And soon, no one will want to send anything to anyone
Yeah,
because
I
they
see
will
that
just think
happening.
nonsense.
Yeah, I see that happening. I feel like Slingshot is just a stupid thing. Why would you want? Why would anyone create a service and be like, okay, let's make sure that like they can't see what you send them until you send something back.
Facebook,
It's just
you need to
yeah,
get one thing clear.
it's
Not
just
everyone has as interesting lives as you. You like to, in your product demos, you like to show white dudes surfing, you like to show white girls having a party, you like to show parents celebrating their baby's first month. These things don't happen every day. Most of the time, our existence is really boring and confined to home and work and home again. And there really isn't that many times in the year when we go surfing or even to the beach or to the park or anywhere. So you need to understand that people don't have as interesting lives as you want them to be, and not every moment is necessarily shareable or interesting or something that I would want to see.
again, why wouldn't you just share these moments on Instagram for everybody to?
Yeah.
I just, I just don't understand. I think Facebook has completely lost it.
So this isn't
Um,
going anywhere. Facebook Paper isn't going anywhere. Poke
that's also
isn't going
US only.
anywhere. So the
Yeah.
only way that Facebook can remain relevant is by buying up our favorite web services such as Instagram and WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that they own these two services and still want to come up with. I don't know. I don't know. Let's move on. Speaking of services, Sony has released a plugin for Xperia phones. That is the Xperia Z1, Z2, and Z1 Compact right now. That allows you to stream videos straight to YouTube using YouTube's built-in stream functionality, which is Google Hangouts, like the thing that you're doing right now. Except that Sony's app. Will only allow you to stream for 15 minutes maximum.
That makes
So
sense.
yeah, before that your phone will probably overheat and die.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
so
I mean, streaming takes a lot
can
of
you
data.
imagine if you had the Xperia Z2 and you stream like 4K video through the internet? Right, yeah. So this so I included this news because I want to talk about YouTube. So rumor has it that YouTube is planning to launch a premium music streaming service, and
I heard
because
about
of
that.
that, they are trying to strong arm indie artists into agreeing to them to a licensing deal, which the indie artists perceive as being not so favorable to them. And so, YouTube is acting like a monopoly because they kind of are, and they have, they're threatened to take down the artist's videos that are on YouTube. They have threatened to stop the artist from posting new videos to YouTube unless they agree to the new licensing terms. It's just kind of messed up, and it kind of ties in with something that I was talking about last week when I said I don't want to be so reliant on Google anymore, because this is exactly what large company that has pretty much a monopoly on a particular service or offering. That's exactly what they're capable of doing, and I don't like that. So yeah.
The good old strong arming tactic of the monopolies. So yeah, I mean, who didn't see this coming? To be very honest, who didn't see this coming?
So if Yahoo
Anyway.
or Microsoft wants to build a YouTube competitor, I'm completely behind that.
There is Vimeo.
Oh,
Who
Vimeo.
does anybody own Vimeo, or is Vimeo by themselves?
I think Vimeo is by themselves still.
Oh,
Yeah.
why doesn't
So-
anybody want to buy Vimeo? I personally don't want to be on Vimeo because they have horrible support for formats. Their sharing code is terrible, and there's no
And
way
their free
to.
accounts are very limited.
Oh yeah, it's crazy limited.
Yeah.
They let's just not go there. There's too much to talk about. So yeah, the Sony app will allow you to stream up to 15 minutes of video
Twitter.
to your YouTube app. Okay, yeah. Twitter for iOS and Android, and the web now allows you to share GIF images, and that's how you
Interestingly,
pronounce it because I've
I
done
read
research on it.
something on the internet this week that explained that they aren't really GIFs. They are GIFs that have been converted to
Yes.
a web video format.
Yes, that is something I noticed. What the hell? So I noticed that because I was looking at it on my phone, and then I saw that it was a little play icon, and I'm like, huh, how did they do this? And then I saw somebody post a tutorial on how to convert any GIF into a video just by posting it to Twitter, and I'm like, huh, that's that's crazy. So yeah, I guess they made use of their Vine algorithm or whatever.
So that is
to
what they
this.
bought Vine for.
No, but they made Vine. Right? Oh yeah, they technically bought Vine.
They
That's
bought Vine,
That's true.
remember?
That's true.
So, and they bought Vine because they couldn't buy Instagram. But anyway,
Yes.
so now I kind of understand why they would do it this way. When GIFs, in reality, even though they may seem simple, they are very processor intensive. If
True.
you start playing GIFs on your computer, you'll notice that it starts bogging down pretty quickly.
And they're huge files as well. They're huge files.
Yeah. So they would do this. I honestly think this sort of GIFs, at least there's a play button that which means it can be stopped, because I think it is annoying.
But people have already started doing
on the net.
posting it. Even brands have already started posting GIFs, and it's
Oh
just
no.
it's annoying. Like I thought we were over GIFs, but we're not.
Oh no.
GIFs are back. Hey, I love GIFs
Alright.
as much as the next guy. It's just that I'm not anti GIF. Just so you guys know, it's just that I feel like we have too many services now that support GIFs. Anyway.
Would you like a GIF with that?
Yes.
Anyway,
Main topics. All right, let's talk about this.
yeah.
The entire world is going crazy about this phone for no reason at all, because this phone is only releasing in America, and that too on one provider. What phone am I talking about, Al? What phone am I talking about?
Amazon made a phone.
Holy shit.
Now, now let's just run through this phone very quickly. It's a Android phone that does not support Google services, which puts it in line the Nokia X, Nokia X Plus, and Nokia XL. It has the top-end specifications that you expect of any high-end Android phone. It has a processor from last year, the Snapdragon 800. It's got a screen size and a screen resolution from HTC One X, which was 2012, so that's 2 years ago, and it's got a glass front and back, and that's something Apple did on the iPhone 4 and the 4S. And Sony's been doing it as well. Now, it's got a 30 megapixel camera with OIS, so that's like the LG G2 from last year. It's got a hardware button, that's the fire button, and it will allow you to...
Yes, Firefly.
Okay, Firefly button. Alright. It's a hardware button that will allow you to take photos when the phone is in standby. It will launch the camera and snap a shot. It will also link you with Amazon's Firefly service. And what the Firefly service does is that the Firefly service allows you to scan any product that you can think of, and it will show you results on Amazon for that product by recognizing the image that you sent them. So
basically this is something any app could have done if they had just released this.
It's exactly the same as what Amazon's iOS app does. So now people are going crazy about this because it's an Amazon phone.
But you forgot to talk about dynamic perspective.
I'll get to that later. So let me just preface this by saying that if you don't live in the US, and this phone is irrelevant to you, completely irrelevant. This past week, I had someone on Instagram ask me about this phone. I told him it is irrelevant. It is
I saw that.
completely irrelevant. You might as well not even be thinking about it. It's as relevant to us as the OnePlus One, because you can't buy the OnePlus One. You can't buy this Amazon phone either. There are just some things in the world that you cannot buy.
Like even if this phone is released in other parts of the world, like Asia, it's going to be sold at full price, unlocked, which puts it in the same pricing as the iPhone 5S.
Even if you were to live in the US, this phone is also irrelevant to you unless you use AT&T. So basically what we are looking at here is an Android phone that doesn't support Google services is essentially a mobile shopping cart. So in the US, which is the bastion of capitalism, where companies' sole objective is to get you to buy things and consume things and destroy the planet and just go crazy with consumerism and capitalism, and they just want to find more ways to extract your dollar out of you, so they will sell you a phone that's designed to make it easier for you to buy things. What
That's
a brilliant idea.
That's basically what the Fire Phone is. Yes, indeed.
They designed a phone that whose sole purpose of existing is not so that you can take the best pictures in the world. It's not so that you can get to your email faster. It's not so that you can use Google easier. It's not so that you can take advantage of all the synergy that exists between Microsoft products such as the Xbox and Office and Outlook and all of that. No, none of that. Its sole purpose is to get you, the stupid consumer, the person who doesn't know anything, is to get you to buy more things on Amazon.
That is the best explanation I've heard about that phone so far. Seriously.
So, are you still interested in this phone? It is designed around a buying experience, so that you can take a photo of a book that you see in a store and then order on Amazon. Do you know what this is doing to local businesses? Can you please spare a thought for people's livelihood? Amazon is going to become the next Walmart or the next big box retailer who doesn't really give a shit about other businesses or its competitors or even its employees. Do you really want to jeopardize that lovely old lady running a bookstore all by herself so that you can get your book from Amazon, destroy
I'm just gonna say I don't know any nice old ladies that have bookstores in my neighborhood, so I'm a big fan of buying stuff online from Amazon. So Alvin does not speak for everybody. But yeah, so hey, we haven't spoken about dynamic perspective. Let's talk about that. It's amazing. They spent so much time talking about this, and basically what this is a fancy live wallpaper lock screen. It has no point at all, apart
Apple
from.
has done this.
But they have 4 cameras at the front. Okay,
Yes.
now suppose this was the Fire Phone. There's a camera here, there's a camera there, there's a camera there, there's a camera there.
To watch
And and basically, what dynamic perspective does is that as you can apparently peek around the wallpaper, but when have you ever looked at a wallpaper and been like, oh, I want to know what's behind that pyramid over there?
So,
did you see the announcement?
Yes.
Did you see the pyramid thing they showed off?
Lots of time talking about dynamic perspective. They went into how difficult it was of a problem for the engineers to solve, how much time they spent putting the technology together. Honestly, Apple has just done it with an standard accelerometer setup. So
and they also showed they showed a game, a very cool game called
you know what?
Tofu Attack or something. But
that will be the only game you will play on the Amazon Fire Phone that will take advantage of this technology, because
exactly. We've seen this. This is
US
textbook.
only. It is going to have the same success rate of adoption. That dynamic perspective SDK is out, but it have the same rate of adoption as any Android OEM who thinks themselves large enough to pull off a custom SDK of their own, so that people will start building apps for the SDK.
What developer in his right mind would waste the time to make an app for a phone that does not have Google services and is only available
US only,
to a certain
AT&T only.
Exactly, to a certain operator in one country.
And
it's
you
just
know
a waste of
what?
time.
Most people who are on AT&T end up getting an iPhone. The numbers back that up.
It's much cheaper. Why not? I mean,
so hey, this one is the same price as an iPhone 5S, a Samsung Galaxy S5, an HTC One. I mean, any selection of great phones that you could get. That honestly worked better. Amazon had the chance to knock this out of the park, somewhat, a little, maybe a notch, by pricing this phone lower than it actually is. But they went for a standard pricing, standard data plan in the US, which completely puts it out of the running as a competitive option. So basically, you know what? When the Kindle Fire came out, everyone went crazy over it. Alright? We've seen this before. When the original Kindle Fire came out, everyone hailed it as the Android tablet to kill all Android tablets, blah 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 blah. And you know what? Samsung has just walked in with their 10,001 Android tablets and gained the majority of the market share, especially since you can't get a Kindle tablet outside of the US. So hey, we have already been through this story before with the Kindle Fire tablet. Now we are running through this story again with the Kindle Fire phone, and I'm just tired of that story because everything Amazon does, people make it out to be such a big deal. Oh wow, that's so great. But honestly, the real world impact of the Fire phone, it is this size. It almost cannot be seen because you know what? When we got excited about the Kindle Fire tablet, it's not like they have really set the world on fire, isn't it? So, so they are a niche option for Amazon customers who live in the US, and that's about it.
So basically, please don't. If you're not in the US, if you're not in AT&T,
Please don't ask us about the Amazon
just
Fire
ask
phone.
us about the Amazon
Just
Fire.
don't, because
And I hate the brand name. Like, why go with Fire Phone? Why like? Will they have a fire sale on the Fire Phone? Will they
I
like?
think that is coming right up.
Oh my God! It's so bad. So yeah, at least they didn't launch a Kindle phone. I mean, that would have been even worse. Let's move on to our other main topic because I feel like we put too much energy into this
Yeah.
Fire Phone
So
talk.
so I've been using a Windows Phone for 3 weeks now, perhaps, and I now why am I talking so much about Windows Phone? Because I don't think that people tend to give it much attention. If you were to want to read about Android, there are like 10,000 blogs that talk about Android, and they all do a pretty good job about talking about Android. But you know, Windows Phone just sits in the corner and really isn't discussed by many people or many outlets outside of the usual few that used to cover Symbian back in the day. So so I'm talking about Windows Phone again because I kind of want to uh, debunk the myth somewhat that the lack of official apps on Windows Phone is a big deal because Windows Phone will die without official apps and so on and so forth. So we have seen a few app launches for Windows Phone this past week, and just about all of them are basically web wrappers. So they are not real native applications. They are just websites, mobile websites, wrapped up as a Windows Phone app, passing off as a Windows Phone app in the store. So those are your quote-unquote official apps. And I just kind of took a look at the Windows Phone App Studio, and I realized that I could whip something up like that quite easily for Unleash the Phones in maybe an hour, but you wouldn't want to use it. So, so I kind of want to talk about the way that Windows Phone has been sustained through the work of indie developers who come in and fill up the gaps with that are left by the absence of official apps with their unofficial ones. And most of the time, the prevailing conversation is that people think these unofficial apps are inferior to the official ones. But I can tell you that in today's context, where YouTube is being monetized as much as possible, I kind of find it refreshing that on my Windows Phone, I don't need to watch any YouTube ads at all because the app doesn't deliver them to me. And that's what you get by not having
But
an
at the same
official.
time, people like us depend on ads, so it's kind of half-filled.
Yeah, but honestly, the ads these days are getting more and more obtrusive because now YouTube has also introduced apps that you can't skip after 5 seconds. So I don't mind ads as much as I do ads that I have to sit through just to watch this video. By the end of the ad, I'm usually not interested in the video anymore. So in order to avoid that, you need a Windows Phone because MetroTube will help you avoid all YouTube ads because it just doesn't do them. And you still get to watch videos in 720p, and you can lock the the phone to always load 720p videos, because in standard YouTube on Android, if you're on 3G, they only serve you an H2 video, which is 480p, which looks like crap on a 1080p screen phone. But if you have 3G on your Lumia, you can also load HD videos because it gives you the choice. And YouTube just added a resolution selector to allow you to select the resolution of the video that you want to watch to the Android app. But we've been able to do that all along. And
I wonder what took them so long to do this on the Android app, though. It makes no sense.
yeah,
I mean, yeah.
And for Instagram, the one thing that so you see, on Android, because there are all these official apps, there's really no incentive for someone to come in and do a third-party version of an Instagram app, because the official one is already there and most people use it and recognize it. But even though there is the beta Instagram app on Windows Phone, it really isn't worth considering, because SixTag is the one you want to use. And because SixTag is not an official Instagram app, you get features such as being able to put the full photo into the frame, into the square frame, through the app itself. You don't need to have an extra app to do that, to handle that process. Just one button tap, it does it. You can download Instagram photos to your phone. You can share Instagram photos via NFC. You can do lots of things that you can't do with the official Instagram app. So honestly, I feel like I would rather use Instagram on Windows Phone because I get all these extra features, and because most of the time I don't take photos that fit in a square that well. So being able to generate the cropped version in the square frame is really quite a good capability there. So I could mention other examples, such as the official Foursquare app being kind of abandoned, and there being third-party alternatives to take care of Foursquare.
Hey, but in the case of Foursquare, it's good that they don't have Swarm for Windows Phone yet. Or even Twitter. The Twitter app does not have a lot of crap that the
and
Android
because Windows Phone apps are so abandoned, they don't get many of the more annoying features that Twitter recently introduced. For example, it doesn't support GIFs, it doesn't support the blue line, it doesn't support really anything that Twitter has done in the past 6 months. So in that way, that's a good thing when your preferred web service is kind of flailing around doing loads of random things that don't really improve the experience, and you just want to see your tweets. So I have to say that after about 3 weeks of using a Windows Phone, I have kind of it's hard to say whether I really miss Google services anymore. Every review of Windows Phone things that I've read kind of makes a big deal out of the lack of support for Google services on Windows Phone. But I feel like if you give it more time, and if you're open-minded enough to try what Microsoft has to offer, then you may find that unless you're a Mac user, you may have actually a more seamless experience between your Windows 8 PC and your Windows Phone. Even if you don't use Metro apps at all on Windows 8, just having that OneDrive integration there out of the box allows you to easily shuffle documents between your PC and your phone, or in fact any file that you could want. And because OneDrive is integrated into the system, it doesn't need an additional helper app to sit in the background and take up RAM and put an extra icon in your system tray. So I have to say that I really have not had much of a problem, jumping to Windows Phone today, after being an Android user for a long time. And that's why when your Windows Phone 8.1 review came out, I kind of said that I kind of concur that Windows Phone has finally arrived as an option that I can use full time, pretty much. And that is also backed up by the hardware, because you get the physical camera button, you get Nokia camera, you get a lot of things that you just don't have in the Android ecosystem that people keep banging on about when they kind of want to defend their Google platform. So in that way, even though I'm not using Windows Phone 8.1 yet, I feel like the apps and the services that are offered have matured enough that even if you were on Windows Phone 8.0 and if you were to get a Windows Phone 8 device today, you wouldn't have much of a problem unless you kind of just dislike Microsoft to begin with and refuse to try and give a chance to what they have to show you on the web.
That's interesting because we make so much fun of Microsoft that now.
Yeah, I think that we kind of make a lot of fun about Microsoft for a lot of things.
Because
But
they do stupid things sometimes, like some
Yeah.
really stupid things.
But the thing is, they can't sit in the background iterating on their imperfect offerings in order to make it more ideal. OneDrive today is much faster than SkyDrive was when I made fun of it. So I
Yeah.
think that we sometimes need to revisit these things because obviously these products are always being developed, and what our initial impression of Windows Phone 8 was is very different from our impression
yeah.
of Windows Phone 8 today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I really wish Windows Phone 8 was what Windows Phone 8.1 is when it launched. But hey, I'm glad that it's finally here. I really hope the updates start rolling out fast though, because I feel like Windows Phone 8.1 is a huge difference compared to Windows Phone 8. Really, if there was no silly naming schemes that were attached to Windows, the desktop OS, I feel like they would have just named it Windows Phone 9 and
Yeah,
at least it has
because
that.
it's that major.
That major, yeah. So I'm glad it's finally here. Of course, there are some minor things that need to be fixed here and there, but I'm really happy to see it here. My Windows Phone 8.1 review was out earlier this week, so you can check out that for what I think at least. But yeah, that's what we think about everything this week so far, I guess. Alvin is a Windows Phone fan now. There you go. You should
And
go
this is
back.
one thing that no Android phone has.
You should go back and read Alvin's Lumia 610 review,
Yeah.
just to see how
That
much
is how
he's
far we
changed.
have come.
Just to see how much how Microsoft has changed in the last few years. All right, guys, that's our show then. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you taking the time to watch the show. We also appreciate feedback. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions or if you don't agree with some points that we made. We really like hearing from you guys, so let us know in the comments below. As always, you can follow Alvin and me at the Twitter links that I'll leave below in the description. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next week. Take care.
Bye.